Hello and welcome to the ATF Cast. That's anything that fires. Here we discuss science, firearms, the day-to-day, and whether you like it or not, we often don't, politics. The bounds are unscribed, the beliefs full of dis, and the bifocals are simply unacceptable. We're a pinch of lava and a heaping cup of I don't know what the fuck is going on. So, join us on this journey of nonsense and an attempt to learn more, while we do our best to put on a smiling face, keep our eyes upon the moon, and ride the waves of entropy in this ever-changing world. We're the ATF Cast, and we're just having fun. I'm your host, Evan, and as always, we're joined by your tumultuous co-host, my dad, Matt Alava. How you doing today, Paul?
Doing great, Sonny boy. How are you?
Not too bad at all. A little tired, a little worn, but otherwise doing quite well.
Excellent. Still able to use big words.
Oh, thanks. They just come to me in my blabbering of the introduction. Swampy's popping in to say, hey, y'all, had to drop in and hit the thumbs up. We appreciate you, brother, and we're excited to see you next week. The tentative plan is Swamp Dog, and
yeah,
in the coming times. What is that, the 15th?
Swamp Dog interview and chit chat.
It's going to be a good old time. How is the weather treating you up there in the northern side of Ohio? We always have to touch on small talk.
Right now, it's pretty good. So, rain on and off a little bit, but tis the season, and nothing horrible. Doing good.
Good to hear. Nothing too chaotic.
Nope, nothing to make your walls buckle.
Good to hear. I was about to ask, how's the basement situation doing?
Stable.
Perfect. That's the best we can hope in these trying times.
Yep. So far, so good. Still broke, but it'll get fixed.
Broke, but patched. That's how my vehicle is and my body is and most things in life. So,
yes.
Yeah, I think we're doing well. Tonight's going to be a slightly shorter episode, just about halftime, actually. I've got the HVAC fella coming this evening to get some, additional measurements so we can replace my air conditioning because it's been toasty in my house, and I'm very much looking forward to some icy refrigerant.
I don't blame you.
90s and upwards, so I'm definitely looking forward to being able to close the blinds, crank on some good cold AC, and watch a movie or something, be lazy in the evenings. So
yep, cuddle up to a nice warm book in the cold air conditioning.
Exactly. Swamp asks if we get hail up here. We do.
Yes.
Hail, yes, we do. Not super frequent, but frequent enough that things do break.
Yeah, we've had hailstorms twice, probably within a month. Maybe within 6 weeks, we had two storms where we did get hail. Around here, we only had like pea-size hail, but yep, it still makes a noise. Well, didn't get the golf balls flying in at us, just the frozen peas, so not too horrible.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I don't recall any recent hail situations down here in Columbus, but yeah, likely. Yeah, I've been awoken by some aggressive lightning storms as of recent. Usually those are the ones that bring hail without real rain or warning. You just see lightning in the distance, and then all of a sudden it's snowing in August.
Ohio can.
Swamp Dog, he asked us if we just saw Kyle Hill's recent video. I did not, but whilst discussing hail, I gave it a little look-see-loo. And so the video is, I'll pull it up here just so you can see the thumbnail. This will be a reflection on our last week's endeavors. Are there more doors or wheels?
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'm going
to go with wheels.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
He's a good YouTuber. I like his videos. I haven't seen that one, but I'm going to explore it. One of my foremen on my job site, he's been walking into the job trailer once a day and hitting us with he calls them riddles, but really they're just, inquisitive, thought-provoking questions. Let me try to think of some that he asked recently. since a giraffe has a longer neck, does a sore throat hurt more? Was one of his questions.
Guess only if a giraffe's neck has more nerve endings
Yeah,
than another neck. So
that was about my answer. I was like, I don't know the nerve density of a giraffe's neck.
right.
I almost think it's less, or even if they have the same amount of nerves, like per square inch or whatever, they probably have less sensitivity because they're utilizing that thing for battle all the time. They're just whipping their neck around and doing all kinds of activities. So it's kind
Being
of like,
say what?
yeah, it's like if we didn't touch anything with our hands for a year, they'd be hypersensitive, and the prickly pears would hurt a lot more. But being that they're utilized every day, they've grown a sense of sensitivity.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that was one of the questions. Another one was, is a pregnant woman considered a bodybuilder?
Ha. No. Unless she's a bodybuilder. I don't know. I mean, she could be exercising.
Yeah, I feel that. But
I guess we should leave that question to women to answer. But then, what is a woman?
See, I took it more from the poetic standpoint. I was like, they are building a body, so yes. My answer was decisively yes on that one.
Was it building or just growing?
But
and growing is building upon itself.
So I say, is growing just the organic nature of building? Is building our attempt to imitate the growth process?
Yeah, I mean,
so many questions.
DNA and RNA. Well, DNA is the building blocks, and RNA is the blueprints, or is that the other way around? Blueprints. Yeah. So
like DNA is the building block. That's like the primary foundation. They're very small basis. So we got another little riddle questionnaire from Swamp Dog here. Let's go ahead and give it a hoot. Would you rather eat everything cold or everything hot/warm?
I'll go with hot/warm because at some point you just let it cool off. If you prefer eating things cold and they warm up, then that's more disappointing. But spaghetti's good hot.
And cold.
But if you open the fridge later and just crack the lid and start eating some of it, yeah,
a little more viscous, a little thick. I think I would also have to say hot/warm, warm/hot, cleared/hot.
I mean, who wants cold coffee, right? Because coffee is going to go into that, and no, yeah,
another roadblock for us because I think oftentimes I prefer an iced or a cold coffee personally.
Well, iced coffee and regular coffee are different because iced coffee, when it's cold, isn't bitter, but hot brewed coffee, when it becomes cold, becomes bitter. So,
but so you have an iced hot coffee, right? See, my thing, I love either hot coffee, hot, delicious. But if I let it sit for a while and let it become cold with some ice in it, I would even drink it fucking room temp, no ice. It's still not too shabby. But with the ice in it, the water melts or the ice melts, becomes the liquid form of water, and it dilutes the bitterness to a degree that it's also not bad.
Oh, bourbon does the same thing.
Yeah, cut some of the burn. Depending on the bourbon, sometimes you don't
get rid of that bourbon bitterness or bitterness with the bourbon.
Swamp is approaching us with more peculiarities for his question. He states, "No more ice cream or cereal for y'all. How much does that affect your life?"
Not too much. If I eat too much cereal, it makes me fart.
Ice cream too, guaranteed.
Yeah,
that's probably why he killed us a couple times in our youth. Yeah, I'm not a huge sweets man. Cereal's great, but I could go without the both of them, honestly. So, you're not fooling us. Warm tuna fish. I've had some warm tuna. Ain't nothing wrong with that. So, I just think you're losing here. And I also think that, Matt, I love him, my dad is frozen. So he's taking a stagnated stance on the atmosphere here this evening. Hopefully he'll come back before too long, since we do already have a halftime show. Warm beer? No, 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 no. Now hold on, Swampy. You said eat. I do not eat my beer. I drink my beer. So if you're about to bring in fluids to this scenario, that might change some things. But I think the initial statement was only regarding food, if I do understand the English language to any degree. And of course, I can always be debated, but let's see your response on that. And we got Mobile Matt. Hey.
Hey. Well, I didn't go mobile. I don't know what happened, but
Oh,
I did
weird.
disappear. I was getting ready to go mobile, and it said you were backstage.
That's very peculiar. So
Right.
Swampy, while you're gone, brought some more.
Well, I heard the tuna fish thing, but like hot tuna fish. I'm like, yeah, you never had tuna fish casserole?
Ooh, or like a toasted tuna fish sandwich, like tuna on toast,
Mmm.
microwave it with some good cheese. Oh shit! Cut
Ooh,
that
nice
into
little
two triangles.
Panera tuna fish.
Oh yeah, but now see, this
Oh.
is where we've really hit a situation here. Initially, Swamp Dog, so everybody can see it. I'm going to put it back on the screen. He said the screen. He said, "Would you rather eat everything cold or everything hot/warm?" Now he comes at us minutes later with a statement that warm beer is part of the problem.
No, not really.
Ah,
Depends on the beer. I mean, room temperature beer isn't an issue for me.
that's true. I would also drink warm beer. But the problem is, you see, he said, would you rather eat everything cold or everything warm? And I argued that he's strictly speaking on the eating side of things. So do you eat your
E-
beer?
Well, I guess that would depend on how cold it is if you have to chew into it.
Yeah,
So, beer
interesting.
brats.
A beer Rona? Ooh, beer brats. So I had this buddy in high school. Well, after high school, whatever. Oh, Alexis, Alex is. He was always excited to get off in the evening to go home and have a Barona, which is a Corona that he would put in the freezer for like 15 minutes and pull it out so it was more like a slushy, and then he would enjoy that for his evening.
Oh,
Yeah.
huh. Why don't you
Um,
just give it a half an hour or put it in the refrigerator? Well, I guess, yeah, you probably had it cold and then put it in the freezer.
yeah, he
Never
liked it
mind.
thick. He liked it icy. It's like it's an adult Slurpee or something. I wasn't very much behind it, but I did go over to his house for dinner once, and I had myself a Barona, and I've had worse, so that's a fact.
Well, maybe you should just pour beer in the ice tray, freeze it, and then when he pours another beer, he could just throw the beer cubes in there.
Whoa!
Right? Thinking ahead. Got to think outside the box.
Thinking ahead. So I'm still gonna stand by my warm statement. I'd rather have warm beer and all the things, yeah, because if I'm truly craving food, I'm craving something warm, and I think that I don't know, my warm meals are more important to me than my cold beverages.
Yeah. So I guess, would you rather ingest only hot things
That's
slash
true.
warm or
He did come
cold?
back
So,
and restate his question, saying that would you rather consume everything cold or hot warm? So, yep. Thank you, Swampy. We just attacked that with a whole bunch of wisdom. Uh, obviously. So, welcome to the Wholesome Cast. Good to see you again. All right, so we're at T minus 30 minutes to talk about dropping
watch that
stuff.
gravity.
What I kind of wanted to touch on this evening, our big topic for the short episode is policing in America.
Nice. What type of policing? Like picking up after yourself when you go camping? Policing after your family, making sure that they're safe and whatnot, or doing a police call when you're in the military and you gotta walk a line and pick up all the cigarette butts that nasty people flick out in the middle of nowhere. So, you
Mm.
know, or are you speaking of traditional Leos, police officers, law enforcement agencies, and things of this nature?
Yeah, speaking of the latter, but you did bring to my
Okay.
attention some things about policing that maybe I hadn't initially thought topic wise. So I appreciate that opening my brain a little bit there. Um, yeah, what I'm speaking on primarily is law enforcement officers and the state of law enforcement practices in the United States of America.
Okay.
And a lot of things kind of spawn this to the forefront of my conscious thought day to day. We've had a lot of happenings, say particularly in the last 2 years with the chaos of the pandemic. I can't even say the word anymore. I've said it so many times, um, or refuse to. Um, the whole defund the police and the potential martial law and police state and militaristic police state and all those discussions that happened. And then in addition
Okay.
to that, recently we had the Uvalde school shooting, the heinous act by a young piece of shit. Um, and we learned a lot about the police response down there, and things are still kind of up in the air coming out, and a lot of predicaments in that.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I know we touched on it a little bit last week or the week prior. I don't know how the days run together, but maybe you could speak from the wise, turbulent Matalava standpoint about some of the Uvalde business. Uvalde.
Uh, well, I wasn't there,
Fair.
so it. I always give people the benefit of the doubt because I wasn't there, right?
Yes.
So, um, but it seems that the police response was poor, right? So took way too long to get into the structure to secure the shooter. But there are a lot of things wrong with that. You know, go back to a couple of shootings ago. One officer was outside when the shooting happened. He waited for other officers to show up before he entered. People were calling that individual a coward or whatever. But what are the police procedures? Right? Do you enter alone, or do you enter with somebody else? Because a lot of police departments are wait for the next individual. If the next person who shows up is a detective or scene commander or watch commander or another patrol officer. Now that there's two, now you go in, right? You wait until you have a second officer. So I don't know. It seemed like down there they had a whole bunch of officers and very limited command and control. So in the Marines we have SMEAC, acronyms for everything. So situation, mission, execution, administration and logistics, and command and signal. So is this poor training on their part because the situation is active shooter, right? So as soon as that happens, what falls suit? You have to have some type of training to do things. And it's easy for a lot of people to blame only the police when they're the only ones who are allowed to have the guns in that situation. Obviously, besides the POS that is breaking the law and murdering people. Because it doesn't matter the tool, murder is illegal, right?
I had no idea.
So, yeah, apparently a lot of people don't because they're like, oh, the guns are bad. No, murder's illegal. Doesn't matter how you do it, it's still illegal. So, it's that individual's choice and actions that are heinous and horrible, evil, whatever title you want to attach to it.
Right.
So, I think there's a lot of failure down there. In the last school shooting, And I think there's been a lot of failure from the leaders, right? Political representatives that assume that they're leaders, um, poorly representing everyone. Because we guard our banks, guard an armored truck, we don't guard a school bus, right? So you don't guard a school. And I heard news radio, a couple of Cleveland um, board, I forget who they were, but they're some community leaders talking about how ridiculous it is to want to fortify a school. Oh, you want to turn it into a fortress? Oh my gosh, what kind of mental stress will that may cause to the children? Oh well, children being in a location that's secure and safe may not be as mentally stressful as being somewhere where they feel like someone can pick them off.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
right. So, and they're like, well, and teachers having guns to protect the kids. That's just that is crazy. Okay. Well, no, I don't think it is. With the proper training and the right individuals to be able to be the first one there because it's happening to them. Um, I think that's important. But yeah, I think fortifying the schools and making them not a easy target, shooting fish in a barrel. So, I think that's the first step. But going back to policing, yeah, I think a lot of things failed that day on the police department's side of the situation.
Yeah, I think your initial opening statement saying that you were not there is a very fair perspective, because I think a lot of people are too quick to go immediately, armchair coaching, um,
Mm-hmm.
and saying, if I was there, or they should have done this. Like, of course, we aren't there. We don't know the genuine situation. Also, we're obtaining a lot of this information through the news sources that we so frequently determine are untrustworthy. So we have to be careful
Yes.
jumping to conclusions and assumptions. Um, Now, whether it appears as though the police reaction down there was less than satisfactory. So, can we contribute that, like you were saying, to poor training, to poor bureaucratics on what they have to do by law in these situations? Like, what exactly can we attribute that to? Is it lack of training, weakness, some kind of underlying
Well,
new
I would doubt if it was weakness or anything of that nature. Most officers are not of weak heart or mind.
Mm-hmm.
People like, well, they didn't run into the building where there's bullets. Oh, they never. Police run the danger all the time, right? So, what is the chain of command and the proper procedures for an active shooter at a school? Does it fall into the police chief? You got to wait for the police chief to tell you what's going on. Is it the senior officer on scene and they're the on scene commander until someone else shows up? And were they able to make that decision and whatever? And saying that they're weak and they don't care about the kids, I bet a bunch of those officers who responded have children in a school. Whether it was that school or another school in that community, that's a parent responding and trying to separate their parental emotions with their duty to take care of the illegal situation that's happening, right? They're responding to take care of a situation, and there's a whole bunch of other emotions there. So, seeing how it was not a fluid situation. I mean, they're like, oh, it took, I forget what it was, so don't quote me. It took 15 minutes for them to get into the one room, because they had to wait for the janitor's keys. You don't have a breacher,
It's true,
right?
yeah.
I mean,
And
if you're looking through the door, if there's a window, I don't know if there was, but if you're looking through a window and the door pulls out, so you can't just kick it in, you don't have bar to pop that open, you should. You don't have a flashbang to tape to the window and blow the window out and then reach through and unlock the door. I mean, burglars bust glass all the time to get into places.
Right.
So, like I said, I wasn't there. I don't know, but it seemed like a failure.
Yeah, and that ties into a lot of things with the breaching. I know they said that the tactical unit from the Border Patrol agency down there were the ones to finally make entrance into the room. And last I checked, the word was that they were waiting for a key from the janitors to gain access. So, and I've been doing a little bit of YouTube watching, a little bit of reading and things, and trying to think about solutions to these problems. And I know one commenter on a YouTube video I was watching was speaking about he was a law enforcement officer at some kind of local community, who knows where in the U.S., but they saw that the prevalence of school shootings and just mass shootings in general in large public spaces, soft targets, was on the rise. So they, instituted some actions into their policing plan that would allow them to gain access in all these structures. So I know, like the fire department across the U.S., they have Knox boxes on the outside of buildings. No,
Right.
it's steel enclosure with a universal, fireman's key that they can open the box, gain access to the building with the keys that are inside, and then do what they need to do to quell a fire. So a lot of these places that don't necessarily have Knox boxes that are accessible to the police, or at least in this one instance, they got key cards made for the police departments to pass out to the patrol agents, that if there was a situation and the school was on lockdown, they could swipe their key card that they kept on the person and gain access to wherever they need to in the school. So
Okay.
of course we weren't there in Uvalde, and it's a delicate subject to discuss, access to buildings and
Well, there's more than one entry point, right? If
Mhm.
you have 15 officers or 30 officers that responded, you now either have 3 teams of 10, or you have two 15-man teams or 15-person teams, and those teams could be broke down into 5 individual teams once they enter the building. So there has to be another entry point, right?
Yeah.
So whether it's busting a window and everyone climbing through, or going to the front door instead of the side door, I don't know. Um, but like I said, obviously there's some type of failure. Um, Going back to way back in the day, like Black Hawk Down, there were some failures there, right? Not only because a helicopter was, shot down, then another one, um, but the command and control and communication was horrible. So was that something that happened here as well? Was command and control along with
Mhm.
communications just a giant turd, right? Because going to Somalia, the eye in the sky, the helicopters had to talk to the base, and then the base would then talk to the vehicles on the ground and tell them when to turn left or turn right. Well, the communication was so bad by the time they said, "Hey, make a left now." Hey, make a left now. They're already 2 or 3 streets past that because they're going fast because people are trying to kill them. So I don't know. It was horrible.
Yeah, it's difficult, of course. That's why I chose the subject for our shorter episode, so we could touch on it in future shorter episodes, because it is so precarious. Um,
It is now, and we're talking about a few situations where police officers or first responders uh, don't look good. But how many instances every day are they looking fantastic? Because we all know that one, oh shit, destroys a whole bunch of that boys, right?
that's
Or
true.
that a girl, or that a whatever you relate to. Um, so one error destroys a whole bunch of other things. So all the good that's happening with officers and things, once there's a smudge, that smudge is just becomes a huge blacklist for all of them, and it shouldn't be.
And do you think that that is the underlying cause of the greater frustration towards the police actions in the United States as of recent?
Oh, I think so. I mean, yes, there are failures at everything, right? People support their favorite sports team until they lose, and then they're those pieces of crap. They oh my god, you know what they need? They need a better quarterback. They need this. Oh, that tight end's horrible. What? So yeah, they're your hero until they don't do so well, and then you pick every little thing about it and just keep blowing it out of proportion. So, am I saying this situation is blown out of proportion? No, but it could be, right?
Mm-hmm.
All the reporting that's happening on it, I don't know. The armchair quarterbacks, like you said, or coaches, they all have their opinions. Uh, I'll give you my honest opinion. I think it was a turd show, but I wasn't there. Right? You got to be honest. I wasn't there. I wasn't in charge. Um, I don't know if things would be different if I had been in charge. I like to think that they were, but I also like to think that the school would have been secure to the point where that individual didn't make it in and do that.
It's fair. Now, in these situations where we look at these, policing events, and there are mishaps or faults or, just not good situations that are a result of them, you coming from an experience of tactical situations, what changes do you think we could make in the mass of the policing in the United States that could quell some of these misdirections by police?
Training is just training and training and training. It has to be something that is instilled upon you. It has to be a reactionary situation. Um, Years ago in the 90s, I forget where it was. Might have been LA during the bank robbery or whatever. And there was a pretty big shootout between police
Mm-hmm.
and the suspects. Um, and some of the officers were being hit because they weren't taking proper cover, okay, instead of just concealment or whatever. Some of the officers, as they ran out of ammunition, got confused on what to do. Some of them even raised their hands and then were shot. And because when they're at the range, they weren't allowed to reload until such time that they were authorized by the range safety officer or the instructor or whoever it was. So that repetition kicked in a high stress situation in that pooper pucker where the guy's butthole's now up in his esophagus and he's trying to figure out what's going on out of ammo. He's like, huh. So the first thing to do is raise their hand instead of going for their spare mag, dumping the one and getting a new one up and running, right? So you got to get fuel in your vehicle. So at that point, once they figured out what went wrong, they changed their training curriculum in order to keep that from happening again. So every situation becomes another learning event. So just training, just more and more training. Uh, I think there needs to be some good training between school communication, right? Schools and the officers. I also think that schools should be protected better.
Yeah, I mean, we protect our most valuable resources with such weaponry and everything. Why aren't we protecting our schools the same way?
Yeah, I mean, they preach that they want to get rid of guns, and they're guarded by guns. They don't want the schools protected by a wall. You can't put a wall up around a school or a fence, but their house is walled in. Right? They have a perimeter fence. They have perimeter walls. They have a gate guard. They have dog patrols. You're just going home to sleep, right? Well, I'm spending time with my family. I have to be safe. Our children need to be safe all the time.
Exactly.
spend the money where it is best suited instead of filtering it through a bunch of caca and filling your pockets with it.
I agree with that. Sorry, I'm looking at my side screen here because I have tornado sirens going off.
Oh, that sounds like a good time. See, and how's the weather down there?
Yes. So trying to figure that out now.
A little choppy.
Yeah, a little choppy. I know I've got to hop off of here in 5 minutes, but based on the screams outside and the red, purple circle above my house right now on the radar,
Oh, nice.
I think I'll
You
probably
gonna go
hop
take
off.
pictures?
I'm gonna hop off of Fuzz early and make sure there's not a cyclone coming for me at this very second.
All right. Well, I love you. Be safe. Let me know that you are. Everyone else, take care. We'll delve into this a little deeper and better later.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Sorry for the shorter episode. Hopefully, I'm sure I'll be fine. I won't be carried away in this tornado, but just to be sure, I'm gonna go check on that. What's your parting words of wisdom this evening, Paul?
Stay safe and don't get sucked into a cyclone, whether it's emotional, physical, or weather related.
I appreciate that, and I'm gonna take that to heart.
Good.
Love you dearly.
Love
Thank
you.
you everybody for tuning in, and be sure to keep your eyes on the moon.
Keep your eyes on the moon. Stay safe.
See you, everybody.
Goodbye.